Okay, my loves, this one is for all of you creative souls, which is every single one of you listening to this podcast. This is for when we dismiss the uniqueness that is ourselves and we say that we need to be better, we need to be more perfect, we need to be more professional. I'm about to blow your brain as to why that's complete bullshit. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast, where we explore the mindset shifts, energetic upgrades, and practical strategies that support you in becoming the woman who creates what she desires with confidence and clarity. I'm Amy Diamond, and I help high-performing women like you move beyond shame, guilt, and struggle so that you can step into deeper wealth, confidence, and a life that feels delicious inside and out. If you've ever sensed you are meant for more and you're ready to create it, this is your place. It's time to move beyond the vision board, babe, and become the catalyst for true transformation. You're about to step into something really powerful. I'm so glad you're here. Good morning, my loves, and welcome back to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am Amy Diamond. I'm delighted to be here with you today. It is a droopy, rainy Wednesday this morning while I'm recording this episode, which feels so cozy. I have no meetings today, although I do need to go get some material for our build project. But for now, I get to just be snuggled in. And as I was finishing my coffee this morning, I was on Instagram checking out a message that a friend of mine sent me, and it got me looking at this post. So there's this account that I follow called I am 30 AF. Highly recommend. If you're anywhere near millennial age, you'll get a kick out of a lot of what this account shares. And every now and again, there's something that comes across my Instagram feed that really just, it grabs me right in the heartstrings. And I've done a few episodes where I've sat down and said, okay, I saw this on Instagram. We got to talk about it. And today is one of those days. So I'm going to read the post and then we're going to talk about it. All right. People hate their own art because it looks like they made it. They think if they get better, it will stop looking like they made it. A better person made it. But there's no level of skill beyond which you stop being you. You hate the most valuable thing about your art. This really made me I had to sit down and just stop, stare out the window, think about this for a minute. It just, do you know sometimes when you read something, hear something, see something, and it feels like the whole world just stops moving for a second? It just feels so deeply profound. That's how this post felt to me. We're going to channel through, okay? Today, I don't have a clear idea of where we're going to go in today's episode, but everything in me said, Amy, you need to grab the microphone. This is our podcast episode. We got to sit down and share through this awareness. It's something that I know I for sure have felt so deeply. And I got to say, I often feel like I'm the only one who has certain thoughts, has certain feelings, looks at things in a certain way. And that is a very lonely place. It's a very lonely place when we think that we're the only ones who are experiencing something or seeing things in a certain way. This is part of why you'll hear me so often on the podcast, on my YouTube videos, that I will talk about, I'll say something and I'll say, you know what, there's 8.5 billion people on the planet. I cannot be the only one who is seeing this, hearing this, feeling this, experiencing this. because that is a reminder. It's my way of gently reminding you that no matter what it is that you are dealing with, handling, going through right now, it can feel very lonely, and it probably is very lonely. And also, you aren't the only one. And I want to just clarify that point real quick before we come back to our main topic for the day. When I was younger, certainly, there was so much messaging that's like, what, you think you're the only one that has problems? You're not the only one. You think that nobody else ever feels sad? Get over yourself. You're not the only one. That is not what I'm saying. And if that's what is coming forward for you when I say, hey, you're not the only one feeling this way, then I'm so sorry that you had that experience in your life as well, because man, does that ever diminish what we are handling? I don't know. I suspect that the messaging that came through when that was said to us was because someone just wanted us to get over whatever it was, right? And they're just like, could you just you're not the only one that has a bad day, you know? Okay, cool. That's true. There's lots of people that have bad days. There's lots of people who've lost loved ones. There's lots of people who struggle with weight. There's lots of people who, I don't know, don't have money or have jobs that they hate. And my thought has always been, but just because someone else also is having this thing, does that somehow invalidate the experience that I'm having? And the sister to that message would be that let's say that you're having a bad day, and then you meet someone who just lost a loved one or is going through a cancer treatment or something, and we find ourselves saying, why am I being so down about this? This isn't even really a problem when I compare it to what this other person is having. Hey, so real quick question for you. Are you on the Insights email list already? And if you are not, what are you waiting for? Folks on my Insights email list get the best of the best from me. They get super secret deals, they get insights and freebies and all kinds of cool stuff delivered straight to their inbox. So if you are not yet on the list, get yourself on there right now. Click the link in the show notes and let's get you signed up so I can help you continue to keep expanding. Because babe, OMG, the world wants more of you. So let's get you going. All of these things are diminishing our experience. And when we diminish our experience, we actually disallow ourselves to just move through that. So, coming back to, we hate our own art because it looks like we made it. This really sat with me. Now, my brain is very visual. Excuse me. That's why I was very successful doing interior design projects. That's why the build that we're doing right now has come together so well, because I can see things in my brain very, very clearly. I can move through a space. I can play around and like when you see, renovation shows where they show the modeling and stuff, that's how my brain works. Okay. So it's been very, very useful when it came to my design career. It doesn't stop just because I'm not doing design projects, right? This is how my brain functions. It functions in images, and I can just move things around in my brain. So when I was reading this post, the first thing that came through was the vision of a literal piece of art, something that someone has painted. And I could feel as if I had just painted this art. Now, I am not an artist. I'm a very creative person. There are certainly streams in my life where that creativity really sings through. Things like creating content, writing books, baking cakes, putting together spaces. But if you sat me down with a canvas and said, okay, Amy, you need to paint something, oh my gosh, I would get my way through it, but it's not my natural skill. I have a friend who I did not know painted until she moved to Mexico. And then she started sending me some photos of different paintings that she had done, and I was like, what the how like when did you get this skill? This is insane. It's so beautiful. She has just this amazing ability to bring things together. And yet, no matter how wonderful what is showing up on the canvas is, I hear often that she'll say things like, yeah, it could be better though. I'm not a professional painter. I wasn't classically trained. Um, I'm doing my best, but I haven't quite figured this thing out. This is the heart of dismissing the pieces that make us uniquely us. My love, so often we talk about wanting to manifest more money, wanting to create more income in our lives. And something that has been flowing through for me lately is that we've been focusing on the wrong element. It is not that we want to just manifest more money in our lives, but that we actually need to disconnect ourselves from the identity of a person who is under earning. This is something that is becoming very, very clear to me, and I'm seeing some really strong patterns in my own life and in the lives of people around us. And it's so integral to us building the life of our dreams that I've decided to run a free workshop on how to break the cycle of under earning and begin to move into the identity of a person who welcomes in the income that actually allows us to achieve the financial goals that we have and to feel good about it. If this sounds at all interesting to you, then I want you to join me. It's going to be completely free. It's going to be happening in July, and jump in with me for this free workshop because, listen, babe, we need to put more dollars into your bank account so that you can really move and circulate money and abundance in the world in a way that feels wonderful and juicy to you. And step one to doing that is disconnecting from someone who is under earning. So join me in the workshop. The URL is in the show notes. I am so excited to help you break that cycle. When I was first writing the Wealthiest Fuck program, when I was first writing the Breakup with Broke program, when I was first figuring out how to record podcasts, all of this stuff, I would review what I had done, and I'd how do I say this? I'd feel annoyed, frustrated, disappointed in a way, but also sheepish. I think that's maybe the best way to say it. It's not quite right, but it's close. Because I was looking at what I had written, how I had said something, how I was, building a video or whatever, and constantly comparing it to someone who I perceived to be way more successful, way more clear, way more articulate, way more, professional than what I was doing. When I first started doing YouTube videos, like way back, I say way back, like it was forever ago. It feels like forever ago because it feels like another lifetime. But when I had my design business, I was making YouTube videos as part of my visibility project. That's a weird way to say it, but anyway, here we are. And I don't have a huge production team. I didn't take like any kind of videography classes or anything. I literally learned everything just by doing it and by observing what other people were doing. And I'm like, okay, like what are things that I like about how they do it, and can I mimic that? I was also, though, watching videos from Marie Forleo. Now, if you're familiar with Marie Forleo, you will know that at least by now, for sure, she has a whole production team. And even when I see some of her earlier videos, they're still much more polished. They're still like, she's got a great set. She's got like a really good setup, the whole thing, right? And so I would dismiss what I was doing. And in my head, it would go, okay, I'd have this argument with myself. I really hope that, people aren't going to judge based just on what they see in the video, but that they're actually going to hear what it is that I'm trying to communicate with them. That conversation is constantly ongoing. Every time I sit down to record a podcast episode for you, every time I sit down to record a video for YouTube, every time I write a social media post, whatever it is, anytime that I'm creating anything that I'm putting out in the world, there is always this thought behind that says, I really hope that they'll forgive the fact that I'm not a professional, don't have a giant production team, I don't know, may not speak most eloquently, whatever, and that they will just hear what it is that I'm really trying to convey. But here's something that I want you to consider. And I'm speaking this purely through first person experience because it's the best way that I know how to share this. What if instead of having this internal dialogue that said, Amy, hopefully people will pick up what it is that you're trying to share, despite the fact that you are sharing it in this way, what if instead of that, it was like, Amy, people are learning from you and growing from you because of how you share, because you're willing to stand up and do things that aren't super polished, that don't require giant production teams. It actually makes you more real. It makes the words land more deeply. It helps, convey the experience. It helps them feel less alone. It helps them feel seen. Do you notice how the difference between the two makes like a huge, that's a weird sentence. We're going to try that again. Do you notice how, well, shoot. Okay, here we go. Hang on. The difference between the two statements, those dialogues that happen in my brain, one shuts everything down and has me constantly wanting and trying to prove or overcome this hurdle that says, I'm not that great, but hopefully what I'm sharing will come through. And one says, hey, you don't actually need to be great. You literally need to just be yourself. That is the part that people want and are responding to. When we think about it that way, if you can start to shift how you are perceiving yourself being received in the world, and not to say that you're now going, oh, everybody just loves what I have to say. If that resonates with you, then great, like go on with your bad self. I think that's amazing. But it's not about putting the power outside of ourselves. If you didn't catch last week's YouTube video, by the way, highly recommend that you go check it out because I talked about this very specifically, but in the context of relationships. So I'll link it in the show notes for you. Anyway, I digress. It's not that we are wanting to put this power, this, what's the word I'm looking for? This weight outside of us and say, okay, everybody's going to like just receive me in this specific way. What we want to do is still hold that power, hold that influence within ourselves, but alter how our brain is talking about what it is that we're doing. So instead of allowing our brain to chirp away saying, well, you should be doing this better, you're not properly trained, like you'll never be Van Gogh, you'll never be Marie Forleo, you'll never be, I don't know, like Oprah, right? You'll never be this polished. Things that I tend to remind myself in those moments are, first of all, Van Gogh wasn't always Van Gogh. Marie Forleo wasn't always Marie Forleo. Oprah wasn't always Oprah. They spent years honing their craft. They have production teams and all kinds of influences around them that has helped them hone the craft. But also, this is the part that I want you to really hear. What makes Van Gogh so valuable is Van Gogh. What makes Marie Forleo so valuable is Marie Forleo. You could take, we could take another woman of color, have a similar, I suppose, personality to Oprah, stick her on TV, and she may or may not have the same kind of impact and influence on our lives that Oprah had. Because it isn't the assembled parts. It isn't that like, okay, it's a black woman or well, let's categorize it. Let's break it all the way out. It isn't that it's someone who's black, someone who's a woman, someone who has a certain body shape, someone whose voice has a certain tone. It is all of the things together with the uniqueness that is only and can only be Oprah. Marie Forleo is not just, she's not amazing because, she knows how to speak well on camera, or she has a great production team, or she's beautiful, or she moves well, or whatever. She's amazing because all of these parts come together and they're blended with the uniqueness that is Marie Forleo. If someone were to, and there are in the art world, there are tons of people who can like perfectly replicate, like artistic masters, right? I don't know why Van Gogh is on my brain today, but here we are. So someone could perfectly, right down to all the tiny brush strokes, mimic a Van Gogh painting, but it's not as valuable and it may not move us in the same way because it wasn't done by Van Gogh. That doesn't mean that we don't have the same skill as that person, or that the person who painted that replica doesn't have the same skill. In fact, they could be much more skilled, right? They could be a much more proficient artist. They could be much better on TV. They could be much better at building courses and doing things. But it's not accounting for the uniqueness that can only come through the individual themselves. There are people in the world, and I think about this often, I remind myself of this often, especially when I see someone else out in the world saying something similar to what I've said. And I feel like my initial reaction is still, and it likely will always be this way in my life. Who knows? Maybe by the time I'm like 85, I'll have figured this shit out, but we'll see. I'll report back when I'm 85. When I see someone else who says something in a very similar way, or says makes a point that is the same as something that I've been saying, the default, the initial interaction in my brain is to say, well, they're saying it way better than I am. They have a much more nicely formatted post. They have a greater audience. Oh, I can see why they're doing better than I am. But then if I actually step back, it's like, it could also be, Amy, dear loved one, hello, that I love you so much. What if it's a possibility that perhaps, maybe just maybe, you aren't the only one who needs to help 8 billion people? What if, sure, this person may have more followers or may have, a different way of formatting something, even if they're saying something almost exactly how you would say something, but what if the way that they're saying it needs to be said and shown and crafted in that way because it needs to reach people that are going to respond to that person? And it's not that they wouldn't respond to me, but I'm looking at one tiny moment of time as opposed to the fullness that is this person. I'm trusting that this is making sense. There was this thing I saw it years ago, and I remember it's just stuck in my brain, and it said something like, friendship is weird. You just like pick another human and you're like, this one, I'm going to hang out with this one. And so you do. And that has always stayed with me because really that's kind of what friendship is, right? Family, we are born into. We chose them before we even showed up. And now we're here and we're like, okay, cool. You're my sister. You're my brother. You're my parents, whatever. But friends, we've found a human in the world and we're like, that one, I think that's going to be, I want to be friends with that person. We're going to have awesome times together. And so you do. But in that space, you're not saying, I want to be friends with that person because I don't know, they have, well, maybe you do, I suppose. Like the initial thing might be, I like the way that they dress, or I like the way that they talk, or I like the jokes that they tell. But over time, if that was the only thing, you could find anyone else in the world and probably a whole pile of other people in the world who would tell jokes in a similar fashion, who would dress similarly, who would move in the world in a similar way. But there is something about the unique blend of that person and how they match into pieces that are unique to you. That's where the magic comes from. And that's the magic of our creations. When we are building businesses, doing our jobs, raising families, being in the world, all of the disparate things that you do can easily be replicated by someone else. But the fullness of exactly how it shows up specifically through you cannot be replicated by someone else. And there's a very good chance that there is someone in your life who is looking at you saying, I wish I could be like that person. I wish I could be creative like that person. I wish I could speak confidently like that person. I wish that I could just, move through the fears like that person does. There's someone who is looking at you, seeing the unique blend of who you are and how you move through the world and the things that you are doing and the way that you behave and the feelings that you project and how you make people feel around you. And they're saying, I want to be like that. And yet, in our own lives, we're going, this isn't good enough. We're dismissing it. So for this week, this is my reminder to you that, okay, I want you to hear this, all right? So I want you to really breathe in, take a second to ground. I know that this is very easy to pass off, all right? And I want you to really, really hear this. You are absolutely amazing, not because of the things that you've done, the successes that you have had, the specific, accomplishments that whatever. You are amazing because you are this fantastically unique, magical unicorn of a creature who has never existed before, will never exist again, and all of the very specific things that have happened and occurred in your life have blended together to create this really outstanding human. I want you to really, really hear that. And you might be saying, listen, okay, I have been here. I have said this myself. When someone's like, you're amazing. And I'm like, you don't even know who the fuck I am. You're right. I may not know you. I may not know your first name. I may not know where you live. I may not know, what kind of car you drive or whatever you're doing right now. But I do know that if you and I are connecting, which by the very nature of the fact that you're still listening to this episode, I'm going to guess that you and I are connecting, right? Otherwise, you'd been like, I'm out of here. This Amy chick doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. I'm leaving. By the very nature that you and I are here connecting, that tells me something about you. And all that I need to know is that there is something wonderfully unique, deliciously juicy, something so delightful that is specifically in you that is resonating with the things that are unique and deliciously juicy and delightful in me. And that's not to say I'm amazing, and so therefore you're amazing. But that is to say that I don't need to know you personally to know that you're a pretty awesome human. And you're here because you're looking into your world saying, I want to create more. I want to feel more abundant. I want to I want to find ways to like feel better in my life. I want to be a more, I don't know, impactful person in the world. Those desires resonate so deeply with me. And I know that someone who has those desires, who has those thoughts, those wishes, those dreams, that is someone who is warm and loving and kind and is trying every day to put more good in the world. And I gotta say, that's fucking awesome. So, the next time that you are dismissing yourself, the next time you look at something that you've written, that you've said, that you've created, that you've painted, that you've, I don't know, organized, that you've put together, and you are dismissing it because all you see is the flaws, this is your reminder to go, well, Amy reminded me that like perhaps it's the things that I see as flaws that make it so fucking awesome in the first place. I bet if we were to be able to go back in time and talk with the great masters, right? The Van Goghs, why can't I not think of anybody else's names? The Da Vinci's, there's tons of artists whose names are all not occurring into my brain right now. If we were to go back to any one of them and point out, let's say we were able to take their most valuable piece of art today and go have a conversation with them and ask them about this piece of art, I can pretty much guarantee you they would tell you all the ways they're unhappy with it, all the ways that it doesn't measure up, all the ways that it could have been better. And yet we're standing here going, are you freaking kidding me? Do you know that this is worth like $100 billion, right? People are like falling over themselves trying to have this piece of art. People have studied it. Students have studied it for, I don't know, hundreds of years. Like, it's amazing what it is that you're doing. But that person is looking at it and can only see the flaws because we're that close to it. So, this is your reminder that you're awesome and you're doing wonderfully unique things in the world, and that specific blend, the flaws that you see, the things that aren't good enough, are the very things that make exactly what you're creating, who you are, how you move in the world, so wonderfully delightful. My loves, if you have enjoyed this episode, I would love so much if you would share it out. And if you have not yet done so, this is my invitation to please leave a review of the podcast and help us get more people into the vibe, because let's be real, all of us need to hear this truth that we're really awesome people and that the uniqueness that is us is exactly what makes us so wonderfully delightful, right? Unicorns are amazing because they're so unique. Rainbows are, oh my God. Okay, this is my last story and then we're going to finish. So on Tuesdays I've joined a running group. It's become one of my favorite things, but holy moly, these girls friggin' move. So I looked for a running group that is all women. And I found one. And as it turns out, these are all like 20-year-old women, and which is awesome. I'm double their age, which makes me giggle. But they're so wonderful and warm and welcoming. And holy crap, they fucking put down a heck of a pace. So it's helped. It certainly made me a faster runner, and it's good for like my overall body and cardio and whatever else. So it had been a couple of weeks, probably 3 weeks since I had last been with a running group. Just a series of circumstances that like I just wasn't able to go running with them. So last night I was out again. I got to go run with the girls. I was really loving it. There was a big storm pushing in. We're in the middle of our run and we hear this big crack of thunder, and we're like running down the sidewalk, and I stopped and I turned and I looked at the sky and I'm like, not yet. We need 25 more minutes. Like, we're almost done. We finish our run. I get to the car. In less than 60 seconds of being in my car, the heavens open and it starts pouring. Okay. So I'm driving back home. It's about a 25-minute drive from where I meet the girls for running to like where I live. I'm driving back home, and I'm like 3 blocks from our house, coming through some major intersections, and I see the first rainbow that I've seen this year. And I was saying this to my husband when I got home. I was like, oh my God, I was just so excited. I'm like, there's a rainbow. Look how beautiful it is. I'm on all these endorphins, like from having gone for a run and having been with the girls and just having like loved every moment of it. I said, all I wanted to do was roll down my window and shout to everybody in traffic, everybody, look, there's a rainbow. Isn't it amazing? And I could see he was just like, he was laughing, but I could also see reflected in his face this nonverbal thing that said, I love that this is your reaction. I love that, like, you know, my wife sits in traffic and is just so overly delighted with this thing that happens that everybody can see that she has to, or she's like barely containing herself from like getting everybody around her to go, oh my God, can you see that? Like, how awesome is that? It was such a fun moment, but like, this is the thing that I want you to understand. It's 5 years ago, hell, 3 years ago, I would have not had that reaction because I would have felt like nobody else, they're going to think you're a fucking dork. They're going to think you're an idiot. Like, what is this, the first rainbow that you've ever seen? But let me ask you this, okay? Have you ever seen someone, observed someone in true joy and delight? Okay? Regardless of what it is that they're doing, someone who is just vibrating in this like, oh my God, that's so awesome, and not been delighted as a result. When we see people who are, you know, someone's getting engaged and like you can just see the excitement and the happiness and the joy radiating off of them. Okay, maybe that's not a great example because you might be like single and like angry, but even so, most of us would look at that and go, oh my God, like that's so awesome. We delight in other people's delight. But in order for us to be in our delight, we need to allow ourselves to be uniquely us. Right? It might seem idiotic that a 42-year-old woman is driving home in traffic and is so excited about seeing like a partial rainbow that she wants to get out of the car and shout to everybody, oh my God, can you see it? And yet, I guarantee if I had done that, I didn't because it would be super unsafe, but like if I had done that, some people might go, wow, this is a really idiotic woman. But the majority of people would go, oh my God, you know what? That's so true. And what a wonderful miracle it is to see that rainbow in the sky. These are the things that come through when we allow ourselves and we fully move in the trueness of who we are. All right? So stop dismissing it because you're so fucking magical. I can't even begin to tell you. I've spent 35 minutes trying to tell you. And if you don't hear it by now, I don't know what else to do. Send me your address and I'll show up and I'll be like, listen, lady, here's the deal, okay? All right, my loves, that's officially it. I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, my love. If you loved what you heard today, I'd be so grateful if you left a review and shared it with someone ready for more. For additional love and inspiration, find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at XOAmyDiamond, or visit the links in the show notes. I'm already excited to connect in the next episode, and I'm cooking up something really juicy for you. Until then, I'm sending you all my love, and I'm reminding you, you're already awesome. It's time to let your brilliance shine.